Picture a field somewhere in eastern Ukraine. It's quiet. Too quiet. A tank crew pulls their vehicle into a tree line. They've survived 3 weeks of combat. They know what they're doing. The commander scans the horizon. Nothing. The gunner checks his thermal sight. Nothing. The driver kills the engine. They wait. And then, 100 meters above them, something the size of a water bottle turns slowly in the wind. Nobody hears it. Nobody sees it. The crew inside that tank never had a chance. That footage, replayed thousands of times online, became the new visual definition of modern warfare. Not tank duels on open plains. Not Cold War armor columns racing across Germany. A drone, a crew, and a silence that lasted exactly 3 seconds. Russia lost over 3,500 tanks in Ukraine. That number isn't propaganda. It comes from Oryx, an open-source intelligence project that tracks visually confirmed losses using geolocated photographs and satellite imagery. Over 3,500 tanks, gone, many of them to systems that cost less than a used car. Now here's where most analysts stop. They say tanks are obsolete. The drone killed the tank. The future is light, cheap, and expendable. And they're not entirely wrong, but they're also missing the real story. Because the United States Army was watching every single one of those engagements, every strike, every failure, every vulnerability, and instead of walking away from the tank, they did something far more interesting. They rebuilt it from the inside out. And in January 2026, at the Detroit Auto Show of all places, not a defense expo in Washington, not a NATO summit in Brussels, but an auto show where people go to look at Corvettes and pickup trucks, the US Army pulled the cover off the future. This is the M1 E3 Abrams, and it's not what anyone expected. Before we talk about what's new, let's talk about what was broken. The original M1 Abrams entered service in 1980. The engine alone, the AGT-1 500 gas turbine, was already unusual. It's the same type of engine used in helicopters. Powerful, yes. Brutally fast, yes. But it burns fuel like a bonfire. A single Abrams in heavy combat can consume up to 60 gallons of fuel per hour. Per hour. Every gallon has to arrive somewhere. It travels by truck, in convoys, down roads, through ambush zones. And the thermal signature, that gas turbine, glows in infrared. A drone operator scanning for heat sources doesn't even need experience to find it. It announces itself. So when the Army went back to the drawing board, they asked a different question. Not, how do we make the Abrams stronger? But, how do we make it harder to kill? Those are not the same question, and the difference between them is the entire story of the M1E3. Here's the first thing that surprises people. The M1E3 is lighter. Target weight, around 60 tons in the base configuration. That's potentially 18 tons lighter than the heaviest Abrams variant. For a tank, 18 tons is not a small number. That's the weight of 2.5 fully loaded Army trucks. But here's what the Army is really saying when they talk about weight. They're talking about mobility. And in modern warfare, mobility is not comfort. Mobility is survival. Now, let's talk about the engine, because this is where the M1E3 does something no American main battle tank has ever done before. It's hybrid. The M1E3 uses a Caterpillar C1 3D diesel engine, a 12.9 liter inline 6, putting out over 1,100 horsepower. That's paired with an electric drive motor, adding roughly another 250 horsepower. Combined, the powertrain delivers performance on the road while cutting fuel consumption by up to 50% compared to the current Abram. Not 10%, not 20%, 50%. Think about what that means logistically. Fewer trucks, fewer convoys, fewer ambush targets, less exposure, more operational range, more time on the battlefield, and less time waiting at a fuel point. But here's the part that matters most on a drone-dominated battlefield. Electric drive means silent watch. Imagine that same field in Ukraine. A drone operator scans with thermal imaging. He's hunting heat. He's listening for the deep metallic roar of a turbine that sounds like a jet engine on the ground. Now, imagine that same 60-ton machine sitting still, running on its electric motor. Not invisible, but quieter, cooler, harder to locate. The thermal bloom shrinks. The acoustic signature drops. The detection window, that critical moment between found it and targeted, gets shorter. And in drone warfare, shortening that window by even a few seconds can mean the difference between repositioning and burning. Michelle Link, the Army's Deputy Capability Program Executive for Ground Combat Platforms, put it plainly. The M1E3 is designed for a smaller logistical footprint and enhanced protection on the future battlefield. That's military language for, we're not making it bigger. We're making it smarter. But none of it is the biggest change. That's still coming, and it involves something that's never been done on an American production tank before. For 80 years, tank design operated on one assumption. The crew lives in the turret, the loader, the gunner, the commander, up top, inside the most exposed part of the vehicle, the part that every missile, every drone, every anti-tank weapon on Earth is aiming at. Watch any drone strike footage from Ukraine. They don't aim for the tracks. They don't aim for the side skirts. They aim down, into the turret, into the ammunition. When that ammunition cooks off, when propellant ignites from below, the turret doesn't crack. It launches. Straight up, sometimes 20 meters into the air. The entire crew is gone in under a second. The soldiers who watched that footage called it the Jack-in-the-Box. The M1E3 doesn't accept that arrangement anymore. The turret on the M1E3 is unmanned. Nobody in it. Nobody near it. The entire three-person crew, commander, gunner, driver, sits together, side by side, inside a heavily armored capsule built into the forward section of the hull, under the thickest armor on the vehicle, together. If the turret takes a hit, no one dies in the turret. If the ammunition compartment is struck, blast mitigation systems and spall liners protect the crew capsule. The philosophy isn't survive the hit, it's keep the crew alive, even when the hit happens, because that changes everything about how soldiers fight. When you know the vehicle might get hit, but you will survive, your decision-making changes. Your willingness to press forward, to hold a position under fire, to keep fighting, that changes. Crew survivability isn't just a hardware upgrade, it's a psychological force multiplier. And there's one more thing about the unmanned turret that nobody is talking about enough. According to official reporting, the M1E3 prototype is capable of moving and firing with a single crew member on board, one person. Not for routine operations, but the automation level is so advanced that the tank can function at minimal capacity with a skeleton crew. That's not science fiction. That was physically demonstrated on the prototype. Here's the second thing that surprised people in Detroit. The inside looks nothing like a tank. Journalists who saw the prototype described it as a Formula One cockpit. Multifunction displays everywhere, touchscreen interfaces, game-like controls designed so that a generation of soldiers raised on simulators and video games can operate them intuitively. The Army said this explicitly. The controls are designed to feel familiar to young operators. That's not an accident. That's a deliberate recruitment and training strategy. The Leonardo DRS stabilized sight system, the S3, provides the crew with a fusion of electro-optical and infrared cameras covering 360 degrees around the vehicle. No more periscope. No more sticking your head out of a hatch to see what's happening on your left flank. Every angle, all the time, on a screen in front of you. Laser warning receivers detect when something has painted the tank with a targeting laser before the trigger is pulled. Threat data from the active protection system feeds directly into the crew interface. It's all integrated, all fused. The tank doesn't just fight, it tells you why it's fighting. And because the entire architecture is built on MOSA, Modular Open Systems Architecture, this isn't a frozen 1990s computer system that will be obsolete in 5 years. New sensor? Plug it in. New electronic warfare capability? Software update. Better counter-drone algorithm developed next year? Push it across the network. No decade-long rebuild program. No billion-dollar overhaul cycle. In a war defined by rapid adaptation, and Ukraine proved that adaptation speed matters more than almost anything. That flexibility might be worth more than raw armor thickness. Let's talk about what this thing can actually do to you. The main gun stays, 120mm smoothbore cannon, same caliber as the current Abrams family, which means every existing round in the US arsenal still works. Every APF-SDS round, every MPAT, every future hypersonic self-propelled round the Army is developing. Compatibility matters. In logistics, it's everything. The loader is gone, replaced by an auto-loader in the turret bustle. 3 crew instead of 4. Faster cycling time, less manpower, and the commander doesn't wait for a human to push around into the breach. On top of the turret, the remote weapon station from EOS is armed with a 40mm Mark 19 automatic grenade launcher, a 7.62mm machine gun, and a Javelin anti-tank missile launcher, modular, interchangeable. The architecture allows for different weapon configurations, depending on the mission. Now, the drone problem. The Trophy Active Protection System already works on current Abrams variants. Radar, detection, hard kill intercept, proven in Israeli service. But Trophy wasn't designed for FPV drones. Small, fast, top-attacking kamikaze drones that cost $50 and fly at 150 kilometers per hour. That gap was a known problem. Ukraine made it undeniable. The M1E3's integrated APS architecture is built from day one to address that gap. Electronic jamming of drone control links, counter UAS electronic warfare, upgraded roof protection designed specifically for top attack munitions, and beyond defense. The M1E3's modular architecture already accounts for the integration of loitering munitions, Switchblade-class drones, launched from the tank itself. Think about the inversion there. The weapon that hunts tanks now becomes a weapon the tank carries. Instead of only defending against drones, the M1E3 projects them outward. Find the anti-tank team before they fire. Disrupt the kill chain before it completes. Let's put all of this together in real terms. Ukraine revealed a repeatable 4-step procedure for destroying tanks. Step 1. A cheap recon drone finds the tank by heat and noise. Coordinates are transmitted. M1E3 response. Hybrid electric silent watch. Reduced thermal output. Shorter detection window. Step 2. Artillery immobilizes the tank. Forces it to stop. Forces it to hide. M1E3 response. 60 tons. And better acceleration. Cross bridges a 78-ton tank couldn't. Reposition faster. Harder to pin down. Step 3. FPV drones arrive, diving from above, targeting the turret, going for the crew. M1. Nobody is in the turret. The crew capsule sits lower, under the heaviest frontal armor. A PS intercepts. Electronic countermeasures jam. Upgraded roof absorbs what gets through. Step 4. A loitering munition circles and waits. It finds the moment the tank pauses too long. Then it dives. M1E3 response. Launch a loitering munition first. Find the team. Take them out. Before they fire. Before the circling starts. The M1E3 doesn't just defend against this process. It injects friction at every single stage. And here is the number that should make every defense planner on Earth pay attention. This program is 5 years ahead of schedule. Initial operational capability is now targeted for 2030. Production could begin as early as 2027. The first platoon of vehicles could be in field trials by 2028. A program that was supposed to be a vision for the 2040s is arriving at the start of the decade instead. That changes the timeline for everyone. Russia, China, NATO allies watching to see what to buy. Every armored doctrine planner in the world just had their timeline compressed by 5 years. So, is the tank dead? After everything you've just heard, the drones, the kill chains, the 3,500 Russian tanks burning in Ukraine, is the answer yes? No. The answer is that the tank is evolving, and the M1E3 is the clearest evidence of which direction that evolution is heading. Lighter, quieter, smarter, harder to find, harder to kill, able to fight back against the weapons that hunted its predecessor, able to survive hits that would have killed its crew before, built to be upgraded as the battlefield changes, not frozen in a single configuration until it's obsolete. The M1E3 is not invincible. No tank is. No weapon system ever is. But it raises the cost of destroying it. And in warfare, raising the cost of engagement is sometimes the most powerful thing you can do. Picture Eastern Europe, 2030, night. A recon drone scans the tree line, searching for heat. It finds less than expected. The acoustic sensors register almost nothing. The formation it's hunting has gone quiet. Then, a warning. The tank's laser receiver fires. Somewhere, something is painting the vehicle. The APS radar spins up. Target identified. Intercept. Mid-air. Gone. The crew inside the capsule doesn't even flinch. They're already moving. A loitering munition launches from the turret platform. It climbs. It circles. It finds the drone team in a farmhouse 300 meters away. They never had a chance to fire their second shot. The crew drives on. The turret takes a glancing hit from a fragment 30 seconds later. Nobody is hurt. Nobody was in the turret. That's not the Cold War tank. That's not even the Gulf War tank. That is something new, and it's closer than most people think. So the next time someone tells you the tank is dead, ask them if they've been watching Detroit. If this kind of analysis matters to you, subscribe. Every week, we go deeper into the weapons and strategies that are actually shaping the next decade of conflict. Drop your take in the comments. Can the M1E3 survive the battlefield Ukraine created? Or is no tank safe from the swarm? Let's hear it.